everyone. It's Adam and Katie for Stop Fireside Chat. We're so glad to be with you here this evening, Wednesday evening, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. That's where we are, except it's probably like 9:06 or something like that, right?
Close enough.
I feel like our
Nine-ish.
Nine-ish. I feel like our kids have been going to bed later and later and later on Wednesdays. We used to kind of have a well-oiled machine, but anyway, right?
I was going to blame it on the fact that we're not in a hammock outside, but
anyway. So, we entitled this, All Dressed Up and No Place to Go. It's talking about one of us. But, no, I had so much fun today. I got to do some... What's that?
You're all dressed up
and no place to go, except there's no place I would rather be except right here with this guy. Except maybe right here with this guy in Hawaii, no. Anyway, but it was so fun. I got to go down to a couple hours away and do some filming. My friend Cindy Baltima is the executive director of GEMS Girls Club. Did you guys know about that? Is any of your kids a part of that? And they have something called GEMS Refresh, which is a subscription site, and you can get great teaching. And so I got to do a couple messages, and it was so much fun. Well, one, they had a makeup artist. Two, I have fake eyelashes on, which has only happened, I was going to say twice in my life when I got my headshots, but I wore fake eyelashes at least 2 other times. Do you know?
High school?
Yes. One was high school, one was college. Any guesses?
Oh, was it at your Yoda 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 dance?
Yoda dance? What are you talking about?
Sigma Yoda Yoda
No.
Yoda Yoda.
It was
Yoda?
when I was the it wasn't Ursula. I was the Sea Witch in The Little Mermaid, and so I had fake eyelashes. I'm almost positive I did. And then another time when I was in Anything Goes, the musical, we wore those. Again, I think I remember that. I do. Anyway, but
in college.
Summer, like after 1 year of college or something, or going into college. Anyway, summer before college. What I'm trying to say. And the lady did my hair, and then there was a stylist there, and so I was so excited because I was like, I don't have any place to go. I'm all dressed up. And I'm like, we have hammock time, and I was laughing because sometimes I don't have a drop of makeup on, and I thought maybe I would think you got a new wife. You didn't, but anyway. But what I was going to say is, lost my train of thought. We used a teleprompter to do our messages, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I would love to have a teleprompter when, not necessarily
for hammock time?
Well, not necessarily for hammock time, but like when you give messages, because it was really nice. It looked like I was just smiling right at the audience and I was reading something. Maybe I shouldn't give away all the secrets, but but it was fun. It was a new experience. So, all that to say.
It's good.
So what do you have, Reed?
I'm not all dressed up, but I have no place to go.
But how are you guys doing? We want to know, how's your week been? We have started.
How many of you had a makeup artist and a hair stylist? Do you all dialed up this week? I certainly did not.
What did it say? Oh, we have started inviting people to do interviews on Fireside Chat. And next week, if all goes well, we are going to have a couple on the show. And I'm going to give you a couple hints to see if you can guess. So get your buzzers ready and type in who you think it's going to be. So the first clue is that one person of this couple is, I think, I'm like 99.9% sure, a best-selling author. I know she's an author. I'm like probably 101% sure she's a best-selling author. And
hi, Jerry.
Awesome, Jerry. And okay, Okay, so that's your first clue. So let's see what you guess. And if you don't guess, I'll give some more clues as we go on. We're going to have a conversation.
That's a pretty broad, like, how many best-selling authors are there in the United States?
Christian author.
Who says she's from the United States?
Who
Who
says
it's
she?
the she of the half?
But it is.
Drop it.
Okay, so this is a clue I'll give you. If you have a copy of Made Like Martha book, it is one of the people listed on the endorsers. So there you go. Rewarding people if they have a copy of
My
the
copy's
book.
at the office.
So you can't guess.
Right.
But I told you.
You're right.
So, put your guesses in, even if you're watching the replay. Hey there, Tom. How are you? I always want to say Fargo. Is that how people talk in Fargo?
How do you say Fargo.
Fargo? Say it again. You say it.
Fargo?
No, but don't, like...
You want me to say it in a Fargo accent?
Yeah.
No.
Are we offending you, Tom? I hope we're not offending you. But in the movie Fargo, they talk very Midwestern, right?
Very North Dakota.
Is that where it is? North Dakota?
101% sure.
Anyways, let us know where you guys are tuning in from. It's fun to give shout-outs, and hopefully we won't make fun, or embarrass. Or offend. So, any other advice? Anything you want to I don't know.
Just in general. Any advice in general?
Yeah, just any advice. What do you want to give advice about, or talk about, or
grace.
stir the pot about? Adam's doing a 3-part series about grace. Last week he talked about grace for your mistakes, for your sins. The second... Okay, I have a question for you, Pastor Reed.
Do ask.
What would you say are the differences between... Oh, good. We're good.
North
We're good with
Dakota.
that. Like if you say mistake versus sin, because there is a difference, wouldn't you say?
Sure. I can make a mistake driving, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a sin.
Right. But some people would say...
A sin is generally defined as something that is offensive or to God or contradictory to His Word, or goes against something that He's told us to do.
Right.
A mistake, not necessarily. Like, I can cut a tomato wrong, and that might be a mistake, but that's not a sin.
Right.
Generally.
But I think it's a good differentiation. I mean, maybe it's obvious, but I think I was talking to somebody today. Hey, Judy. Hey, Mary. Sometimes we water things down. I'm not saying you were. I'm just saying sometimes we use terms that make us feel better. Do you know what I'm saying?
Interchanging the words mistake and sin, I would consider to be watering down the seriousness of sin.
Right.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
And sin is a word that anymore we don't like to use, because that would then mean that we're accountable to something other than ourselves, and people don't like that.
Ooh.
And so,
Fireside chat, we're going theology here, right? I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying, anyway. Mary, I'm laughing because you know what? We're late to this thing. Often.
Yeah. So there's so much grace.
So much grace.
Grace.
Grace. Where did we hear that? John Lynch.
Yeah, John Lynch from True Face. Ooh. Check that stuff out, bro.
Oh, has anybody read the book The Cure?
The Cure.
By John Lynch and some other people too. Okay, so we heard him speak how many years ago? 6 years ago? 7 years ago?
Yeah.
And he talked about the difference. He says he's a storyteller, so he says it so eloquently. But basically he talks about there's a path to pleasing God and there's a path to trusting God. Am I saying this right?
I don't remember.
But basically,
detail of it.
So much of my life, like, of course we want to be pleasing to God. But in Christ, if we are in Christ, we've received Him as our Savior, forgiveness for our sins, not just mistakes, he's pleased with us because of Christ. But for decades, I tried to keep God happy through what I did, my behavior. Like, I've got to not make any mistakes, basically. And so, but trusting God, is trusting that he's enough for those mistakes, for those sins. And so, pleasing God is like, oh yeah, that sounds good. I mean, of course we want to do things to honor him and whatnot, but it's nuanced, right? It's nuanced that we want to trust that what he did is enough. I'm probably butchering a lot of this, but all that to say, it's a very interesting book, and it might challenge you and flip some things around in your mind. Right?
Yeah, but his stuff, True Faced, is the name of his organization, his website, his Facebook stuff, is all about authenticity in community. And so in the church, specifically in the church, it should be a church in its healthy state is authentic and real and raw and non-judgmental and honest, and where we can be open and honest with our mistakes, because they're no different than her sins, and no different than Joe's sins, and no different than Tim's shortcomings and struggles and addictions, and we're all struggling together, maybe in different ways, but we're all struggling, we're all wrestling with sin, and we're all wrestling with moving forward in our relationship with the Lord, and we're doing that as a family, and we can't be authentic, we can't be real with each other and help each other move forward if we're wearing masks, and our true face, our true colors aren't being seen and shown. So really good, really very good stuff.
So 2 thoughts about that. If you are married, I wonder, are you wearing a mask in something, in your marriage? Like, are you, that's a question, right, to think about.
Hiding something, covering something up.
Trying to be someone you're really not.
Right,
I mean, all those things. And of course, we're not talking about, there's adaptability. If we were just both I'm not changing any part of who I am for you, or I'm not changing, that's not necessarily healthy either, right? But there's also I'm just going to be whatever you want me to be, and you're not really,
you're fake. You're not being your real self, who you really are.
Right. So that's one question, I guess, for you. I guess we're going deep tonight, right? And then the other part is that I've been mulling around, and I'm being brave in sharing this because I like to think things through a little bit. Not always on hammock time, but just before I drop a bomb. I'm not real bomb, But here's something I've been thinking about. So I feel like for a while, there was a trend where people were keeping up appearances. And not that they were necessarily trying to do this, but it was just part of the culture to kind of save face and maybe wear a mask, even though you wouldn't say it like that, that people kind of everything's good, everything's fine. And then I feel like there's a generation that came that was that was off-putting to them because they thought people were being hypocritical or weren't really, being authentic or confessing, they were doing things in secret and then they were being one way, whatever. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. So then I feel like the trend now is that people are very authentic, talking about their brokenness a lot, okay, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I almost feel like we've swung really far this way, and then people are just I'm just going to hang out in my brokenness, and that almost is now the badge of honor,
and be okay with their brokenness and without moving towards healing.
Right. And
brokenness is good, but brokenness is good because it allows God, if we're allowing God to then take those broken pieces and put them back together to heal.
Right.
Brokenness just for the sake of brokenness, I don't see how that is a good thing.
Well, and to me, we want to be careful. Again, we haven't thought all this through.
Right.
But 2 things. the other side of the coin is, in our culture, we're not very comfortable with grief. And so a lot of times, I'm going to play the other side for a second, is that we're trying to hurry everyone through their grief or through their pain or through their brokenness because it's uncomfortable. So that's not good either. But I was thinking about this on the drive home, is in the Garden of Eden, everything was perfect, good, right before sin. It wasn't broken, correct? And so then when sin entered, that brokenness was a result of that. And again, brokenness isn't a bad thing, but God desires to bring wholeness and healing. That's the ultimate place we're headed. And so if we just, again, not that we don't heal well, we want to face things, don't just brush them under the rug, I'm not saying that, but brokenness isn't the end goal, right? It's the place that we start or that we get to, but our landing place, we want to be, is wholeness and health and healing, or moving toward that, even if it's a long move.
But as long as you're moving forward towards that, I think is the key.
But there might be a time that you just sit in the mud, you know what I mean?
It could be 2 steps forward and 1 step back.
Right. But I just feel like there was this that happened, people rebelled against this and came over here, and then now maybe we need to move a little bit like here. And I'm not saying to be fake or whatever, but I think in our big swing this way, it's becoming now where, you hear people talking all the time, like maybe sometimes oversharing, or there's, I think the Beth Keys just did a podcast, I haven't listened to it yet about it, but you want to have safe people that you talk to things with. And, in your church family, some of the most powerful times that I remember in community is when people confess sin. And it's it took this shroud off that sometimes you didn't even know was there. And that's a powerful thing. So please don't hear us saying, confession, all those things are good, but there's also a piece of how is God leading next, or what are some things I can do, not just to snap out of it, but to move toward that health and healing.
Amen.
I guess we have a little church in here. But we'd love to hear what you guys think. Do you agree? Do you not agree? Hey, Jerry has read that book.
Yep.
Yes. And that's great. There is a lot of vulnerability going on. The harvest is ready. Absolutely, Mary. And yes. So all the things. Hey, Bobby, how are you? So we'd love to hear what you guys think. We could be wrong. These are just our unedited thoughts kind of on this topic. And I think brokenness there's a beauty in that. And I think the beauty is you recognize how much you need God. It's a humbleness that can come from that.
Because brokenness without God, there's got to be a sense of hopelessness, because there's nothing that's going to put you back together and heal you like God will. In the hands of God, those broken pieces are safe and protected and put back together, healed into something that is beautiful. Without that, the potter putting that back together, you kind of stay in that broken state, or there's pieces that you try to put yourself back together and it doesn't all fit right, and there's holes and cracks still everywhere.
Yeah. And it's not, we're not saying, oh yes, be perfect, don't make mistakes, don't, all that stuff. But I think the other things too, sometimes that wholeness and healing will come on the other side of eternity. I think it's not like, hey, you do this, and everything will work out great, but I was reminded of this today. So many times I try to do things on my own strength or my own know-how, and that God is ready and available, hey, Amy, to be there for us and to help us, but he's also a gentleman. He's not like, he gives us a free will. And so just today I was asking for some help, and when I do that, it's usually I'm at the end of my rope, and then I always feel like he's like, okay, now we can get somewhere, finally. Okay, I want to see what you're saying, Mary. Just a second. Yes, absolutely. And I think that's a key. Having community and people coming alongside you and being able to sit there with you in your brokenness, that is powerful. And I think,
And to be able to be real with people.
Yeah.
I mean, so many times, we say that the church is supposed to be family and comfortable and safe, and so many times we go into church even, and we put on this happy Sunday church face, and people ask, "Hey, how's it going, Adam?" "Oh man, things are great, good. I'm good," and I may not be, And
right.
how can we be real? How can we be family? How can you help me feel loved and cared for if I'm pretending that everything's okay, and I'm not allowing you to play the part of the community, of the family, coming alongside when we put that mask on and pretend everything's okay.
Right. I think another thing, again, this might seem contradictory, but hey, we're processing out loud with you, is it's also like being patient with people in it too, because it's not like, okay, you can come to church for 5 Sundays upset, but then the 6th Sunday you better be okay. It's like that's not helpful or healthy. So I think we all need to grow in that, or you just have a bad day, and you know what? In 2 weeks, 2 months, you might have a bad day again. And that doesn't mean, I remember my friend, I'll never forget this, she was at the grocery store and she was having a rough day, and this woman from her church came to her and said, "Are you struggling?" As if that was like the indicator of like failing as a Christian or something. I remember it's like, man, being able to admit you're struggling, that is a beautiful thing. It's an honest thing. It doesn't mean you're less of a Christian,
And it's a courageous thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not easy to admit that you're struggling or you're hurting or you made a mistake or whatever it is. That takes a lot of courage and strength to be able to say those things.
Right.
And we should be able to say those things again in the right setting, in a healthy church. We should be able to share those things with someone and not feel judged or ostracized or like we're less than or a failure or any of those things. But in a healthy church, again, should be a place where we can share those things, and we can count on then our family coming alongside and praying for and supporting and lifting us up and encouraging and edifying, all of those things. That's what the church is designed for.
Right. So,
health and healing of people who are hurting. So.
Right. And so we kind of talked a lot of sides of this issue. So whatever part of it you needed to hear, take that and spit out the rest. But we would love to hear what your thoughts are. This is a conversation. We don't want to just be like, hey, this is what we think, whatever. This is community that we want to hear, and we've said before, we wish we could have your little pictures all up and talk back and forth like that. But thanks for tuning in tonight. Most often we don't know how this is going to go.
Like tonight.
Just like the title might not match the content in this case, but you guys make this fun. I mean, this guy makes this fun too, and he's really handsome. But besides that, it's fun to hang out with you guys. Sometimes we're super lighthearted, other times we get a little more serious or contemplative, but thanks for showing up, thanks for being here, and whether you're feeling broken tonight or you're feeling like $1,000,000 and you got some fake eyelashes on, whatever it is, absolutely, Mary, that's a great place to end. It's about relationship and caring for people, and we hope you guys feel cared for here, but we also hope that you are connected to a local body of believers that you can
be real with.
One more tiny little soapbox thing. We were just watching a sermon the other day with David Platt, right? Did I say his last name? It was great. And right now, you have access to great teaching, at the click of a finger, the swipe of a finger. But we are passionate though. I mean, unless a physical ailment, is keeping you home. And there's times we're sick, we can't go to church. But that you're a part of a local body, because that's where you have that not only accountability but the support. And I have to be honest, sometimes the more you're in a community, sometimes the harder it can get, because just like with a family, you're really comfortable usually with your family, and you show your ugly side and you show that kind of stuff. But when you are, it's easy to hide, is what I'm saying. And it's important to be vulnerable, because you really grow exponentially when you're rubbing shoulders or butting heads with people that you're committed to.
Between getting good teaching, which you have access to on the internet like crazy, and being a part of a local body, because you can even live stream from your local church that's 5 miles down the road and get the teaching, but you're not getting the community. And we were created to be in community. And so you can say that you're a part of a church, but if you don't ever go to that church and you're not in relationship with the people of that church, and you're doing life together, there's a disconnect there. That's not how the church was designed to be. And so, yes, get good teaching. Yes, watch things on the internet. But being in relationship with people, being in community with people in some way as a part of a local body of believers is the way things were designed to be. And if you're not doing that, you're missing a key piece to what God designed the church to be.
Right, and for your good.
And community, yes, community. Well, for your good, but also for other people's good.
Right.
You may not think that you are getting anything from this, or it's drama, it's whatever. But you're thinking that's kind of selfish thinking. You're thinking about what you're getting out of it. What if there's somebody at that local body that needs something from you? You have something to offer. You have something to give. And I just finished a message today, and I said, community is messy and beautiful. And it's messy because relationships are messy. But it's beautiful because even in that messy, generally the reason that people get hurt is because you've opened yourself up, you've exposed yourself, there's vulnerability, there's trust, there's some sort of care in there, and that's community, and when we open ourselves up to that, which is the way we were designed to be, that unfortunately opens up the door to being hurt as well, and but it's still it may be messy at times, but that vulnerability and that trust is beautiful because that's how God designed community to be.
Good stuff. Mary was saying, hey Gayla, hey Mary, Gayla, we are so sorry about your church and praying for you guys, for sure. Mary, that is a great point about small groups are a great way, especially if you go, I think whether you go to small church or big church, small groups are great because that's when, like you said, you really have that time to talk and go deeper and
build relationships that are more than just saying hi on Sunday morning.
Right, exactly. So, wow, we talked about a lot of stuff, and we probably went longer than we normally do, but we're so glad you guys are here. And again, just want to say real quick, the Made Like Martha Bible Study started on Tuesday. Hey, Kelly. And it's not too late to join us. We would love to have you. We are getting into the Word and doing that together. So, again, it doesn't take the place of being in, locally with people, but there are people that are homebound. There are people that are in extenuating circumstances, and we want to get you plugged in, even if you're not in extenuating circumstances. And does anyone have a guess of who's going to be here next week? It's someone who was an endorser of Made Like Martha.
Carol Kent.
You told.
You said, does anybody have a guess?
Carol
I guessed.
Kent? Okay. He guessed. I should have said.
What do I win?
a lecture. No, but Carol Kent and her husband Gene are going to be here. Can you believe it? Tell me if you've read any of Carol's books and which ones you've read. We cannot wait to have them. So be sure to join us next week, 9 p.m. Eastern Time for Stop Fireside Chat. Talk to you guys later.
Bye.